Hello YouTube, this is Frank from Happy Coder, and welcome to I Believe, which is the third episode of our C# tutorial. And today we're going to build another iteration of the hero summoner we've been developing so far. Let's look at the end result that we'll be building. And one thing worth mentioning is that this version of the Visual Studio is for Mac, and the interface may look a little bit different if you're using a Windows version of Visual Studio, but all the syntaxes and majority of the functionalities are the same, so that there should be no problem for you to follow along. Now let's take a look at the end product. So as we hit the start button, we're greeted with this console window, and it's asking for us to press the corresponding key to choose from two options. If we were to press the A button, we're going to prompt it with a text which asks us to enter the name of our hero. Now let's enter Batman, and for his special ability, let's enter super intelligence. And as we hit enter again, this time we're greeted with a text which asks us to enter new information for the sidekick of Batman. So let's enter Nightwing as his sidekick. So Nightwing. And for Nightwing's special ability, let's enter acrobatic. And we just went back to the main menu again. And for the sake of presentation, let's enter some more heroes. So A, let's go with Superman. For his special ability, let's enter flight. For his sidekick, let's enter Superboy. And for him, let's enter super strength. And let's just add one more pair of heroes. So the Flash, super speed, Kid Flash, super speed as well. And this time let's enter the P button, which supposedly will print out all the information we have logged in so far back onto the console screen. And as you can see, the program works well, and it's even labeling out all the index numbers of all the heroes and the sidekicks. So that's the gist of the program that we'll be building today. And some of the learning points I want to point out is that we'll be talking about how to create classes and how to use the inheritance functionality to inherit properties, methods, and fields from a template class. And the second learning point would be the forEach method, which in my opinion is a more convenient way of looping through a list or an array. So without further ado, let's get into the building process. Alright, now that we are in the main interface for the Visual Studio for Mac, we're going to click on the new project button to initiate our new project. And we're going to choose the console project written using the C# language and click on next. And for the name of the project, let's call it Hero Summoner V3, which stands for version 3 with sidekick. And after we have hit create, after a few seconds, you can see that the IDE is going to populate the public static void main method with a console.writeLine statement. But we don't necessarily need this statement, so the first thing we're going to do is to delete this line. And if we think of the previous few versions of the hero summoner we have built so far, what we essentially did is to dump all the codes we have written within a single class file. But that's not the best practice, because when we think of the concept of object-oriented programming, one of the four pillars is encapsulation. And what encapsulation is essentially to disperse your codes and separate them based on their particular functionalities into their own very specific classes. And starting from this project, we're going to cater to this encapsulation concept. And if we think of the two nonce that we're going to be working with within this program, we have two nonce. One of the nonce is of course the hero, and the other nonce is the sidekick. So what we're going to do next is to create two classes based on these two nonce. So we're going to right click on the folder and choose add a new file, and we're going to create a new hero class. And by the same token, right click, add new file, and let's create a sidekick class. And now that's done, let's pause for a moment and think about what constitutes the substances within these two classes. We know that we're going to need a string type variable to store either the hero or the sidekick's name, and again we need another string type variable to store the hero or the sidekick's special ability. And it's pretty intuitive to see that these two classes share the exact same information, namely the hero's name and the hero's special ability. And it doesn't quite make sense for us to type the exact same code twice. And what we can do is to create a template class and inherit everything from this template class, including all the methods, all the fields, and extend them to the hero and the sidekick class. So now let's do that. We're going to right click, add new file, and we're going to create a class called character. And within this class we can go ahead and create our variables. And from now on, instead of typing the whole field explicitly, I will suggest you to use the property shorthand. And the property shorthand is prop, and hit the tab key twice. And this way we can now specify the type of the variable, which is a string type, and the name of the variable, which is hero name. And the advantage of using the property over a field is that whereas you have to write additional methods if you want to read and write to the variable, if you're using a property, because of this get and set built-in method, you can just use the hero name to do all the writing and reading operation. Now that we have variable hero name set up, let's use the same technique and create another variable for the hero ability. Alright, so that's essentially all the variables that we're going to need for this particular application. And now let's go ahead and extend or inherit everything within this character class to the hero and the sidekick class. And the process is fairly simple. All we have to do is to enter a colon, and after the colon we just type the name of the class we would like to inherit from, so character. And let's do the same thing for the sidekick class real quick. And within the hero class, the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to create a generic list to store all the hero objects that the user is going to generate. And the list, the concept of a list is very similar to the concept of arrays in JavaScript, namely that it is like a bucket in which you can store all your objects. The syntax is very simple. We just type out list, and instead of creating a simple list, we're going to create this list as a generic list. Generic means that all the objects that are going to be stored in this list belong to a single uniform type. And within the angle brackets, we're going to specify the type of all the objects. It is going to store hero objects, so list hero. And we're going to name this list as hero list equals to new list hero. I believe we have to specify the capacity of this list. Now let's just say that we're going to store 3 hero objects within this list. This capacity doesn't really matter because it can always be overwritten later. And now that's done, let's create a method that allows the user to create instances of the hero object. So public void, let's call the method add hero. It's going to take empty parameters and curly braces. And within this code, the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to create a new hero instance. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to access the hero name and the hero ability. So we're going to write hero, let's call it hero1 equals to new hero, empty parenthesis. After we have written that, we can see that if we write hero1 dot hero name, we have access to this particular property, which means that the whole inheritance process is successfully working. Let's delete this code and first prompt the user with some instructional text. So we're going to use a console.writeLine method. Instead of typing the whole console.writeLine method word by word, I mean letter by letter, from now on, let's stick to the shorthand, which is a code snippet starting with CW, ending with hitting the tab key twice. Prompt the user with the text, please enter the name of your hero. And under this line, we're going to write hero1 dot hero name equals to whatever the user inputs, so console dot read line. Perfect. And by the same token, let's do the same thing for hero ability. Please enter the special ability of your hero. Hero1 dot hero ability equals to console dot read line. Alright, awesome. And after that's done, we know that the user has successfully created a hero instance that has the hero name and the hero ability. And the next operation we're going to do is that we're going to add this instance the user has just created to the hero list. And the syntax for this is very simple. We just write hero list dot add, and inside of the parentheses we're going to enter the hero1. And from this line we can see that the behavior of the list object in C# is very similar to the behavior of arrays in JavaScript. So the list.add method is almost exactly the same as the array.push method in JavaScript. Alright, so now we have successfully created a method that allows the users to create heroes. Let's write another method that allows the users to bring back the information he has just created back to screen. So public void print hero, empty parameter curly braces. And for this method, since we already have a list set up, let's now use this method to loop through the list and print everything in the list back to the screen. In the previous movies, we have always used the for loop, but for this one, let's make a change and use the forEach loop. And the syntax for the forEach method is very simple. It is almost identical as the forEach method in JavaScript, which shows you that how similar are the syntaxes for all the C-based languages. And now let's start with the forEach method. So forEach and empty parentheses, and inside of the parentheses we're going to first identify the type of the variable in a list. So it's going to be a hero type, and for the variable name we can pretty much call it anything, but for the sake of clarity let's call it hero, and it is inside of the hero list. So let's specify the list and a pair of curly braces, and within the curly braces we're going to do the operation. And what we want to achieve within this forEach loop is that we want to do a console.writeLine command that spits out all the hero names and hero abilities object by object. So we're going to write a console.writeLine, double quotes, your hero's name is curly braces 0, your hero's special ability is curly braces 1, outside of the double quotes, let's enter the strings that are going to be replacing the 0 and 1. So at the 0 index, it's going to be hero.hero name. Remember, this variable is going to be identical with the variable name we have just specified here. And the variable that is going to replacing the 1 position is going to be hero.heroability. Alright, and so that's all done. Let's do something with the program.cs class so that the user could access all the codes we have just typed up in the hero class. So inside of the program class, the first thing we're going to need is a main menu. We're going to create a method, create a void method to function as the main menu. So public static void menu, empty parameter curly braces, and let's, like always, we're going to prompt the user with some instructional text. So console.writeLine, please enter the corresponding letter to choose from the following. And again, console.writeLine, if the user hits the A button, he or she is going to access the add hero method, so add a new hero. And if the user were to enter the P letter, the letter P, he or she is going to access the print hero method, so print out hero info. And the technique that we're going to employ to let the user choose from the two options is, like always, a switch statement. So we're going to first create a variable called var input, and this is going to equal console.read key, so that whatever letter the user chooses to enter after seeing the instructional text is going to be stored in the input variable. And under the initialization of the input variable, we're going to write a switch statement. And the parameter that this switch statement takes is the input.key, converting the input variable to a console key. And curly braces. Inside of this pair of curly braces, we're going to write a bunch of codes. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to first initialize a hero object. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to access the add hero and the print hero method we have just written. So let's do that. Hero, for this time, let's call it new hero. New hero equals to new hero. And the first case we're going to build is console key dot a. Remember this line? So that's that. And if the user were to hit the letter A, he or she is going to access the new hero dot add hero method. And let's have the user go back to the main menu after he or she has entered a new hero, has created a new hero. And we're going to break from the case. And we also have to build a default case whenever we write a switch statement. And for now, let's have the default case do nothing and just break from it. The last thing is that we're going to call the menu method from the static void main. And now let's test it out. Hit the start button and it launches the terminal, and we see that we have successfully called the menu method. And let's choose the add a new hero option. Please enter the name of your hero. Let's choose Superman Flight. Awesome. So that's working. But the thing is that we also need to let the user print out the hero information. So let's build another case real quick. Case console key dot p. And for the p case, we're going to access new hero dot print hero method. Let's do a console dot read line so that the terminal window doesn't exit on us. And let's break from the case. Test it out again. And now, as we are testing this code, as we're testing this program, when we hit the start button, and we're going to hit the letter A and enter Superman Flight. if we were to hit the P button, we know that supposedly the console screen is going to print out the Superman object we have just instantiated. But in reality, when we hit P, nothing happens. And without even running the debugger, I know that the problem lies in the code structure in the hero class. As you can see here, the line of code that initiates the hero list object, it takes precedent before we even instantiated a new hero object. And this creates the problem because in order for the list object to work, we need to first establish or instantiate a new hero object. And there are a few ways of fixing this problem, but the simplest way is to simply convert this list into a static object. And now as we are running this code again, Superman flight, and we hit P, we see that the code is working now. And while we are at it, let's fix some minor formatting mistakes to improve the aesthetics of our application. So we're going to make the console writeLine methods starting from a new line. Let's do the same thing real quick with the console.writeLine in the print hero method. Okay, so that the bulk of the program is working right now, but you may ask, what do we do about the sidekick? For now, we're simply going to copy the entirety of the add hero class and paste it into the the sidekick class. And of course, we're not going to have this method, which is supposedly letting the user initiate a new sidekick object to have the same name as the add hero method in the hero class. We're going to simply rename it as add sidekick. We can't go about manually changing all the hero 1 into sidekick 1, but a more easier method is to simply hover over the hero 1 and right click and select refactor. Under the refactor, we select rename and call it sidekick 1. And as you can see, the IDE automatically helps us to convert all the previous hero 1 instance into sidekick 1. So hit enter, and now the renaming is done. And let's go about manually changing all the hero into sidekick. And another thing we need to do is that we're going to create a static list sidekick and use this list to again store all the sidekick objects the user chooses to instantiate. So list sidekick, let's name it sidekick list equals to new list sidekick. Awesome. Let's let the list to have a capacity of 3 objects. This here list over here needs to be renamed as sidekick list. And right now we're seeing a red squiggly line under the sidekick 1 variable name, and this happens because we forgot to specify that the sidekick 1 is not of the hero type but actually of the sidekick type. So let's fix it real quick. Equals to new sidekick, of course. Let's copy this static sidekick list and move it to the hero class. And by doing this, we're going to essentially go about to bind the hero and his sidekick to create a sense of partnership. And after we have pasted the sidekick list into the hero object, in order for the sidekick class, in order for the methods in the sidekick class to be able to access this list, we're going to type out the public keyword in front of this list. And after that's done, we can see that there's still a red squiggly line under the sidekick list variable name, object name. This is because the IDE is still having trouble referencing the sidekick list inside of the hero class. And a very simple way of fixing that is simply type out the class name. So hero dot, and then after we have specified that the sidekick list is from the hero class, we can see that there's no compiling error anymore. Now let's save the project. Okay, so for the rest of the project, our main objective is going to be binding the heroes with their sidekicks. And with that said, since hero class is the main class that we will be mainly working with, we're going to do the binding process within the hero class. In order for us to do that, we're going to initiate a static integer type variable and call it hero counter. And let's specify the hero counter to start from 1. And let's initiate another variable, another integer type variable, and call it hero number. And within the add hero class, after we have had the user initiate a new hero instance with a hero name and a hero ability, let's equate the hero specific hero number, so hero1.hero number, to the hero counter at that time. And at the end of add hero method, let's increase the hero counter by 1. So that essentially we have created a index system for the hero object. And inside of the print hero method, our objective is going to be, like we said before, binding the hero objects with the sidekick objects. So let's do a console.writeLine method. But before we do that, let's first fix the first console.writeLine method and demonstrate the index system within this statement. So let's, instead of saying your hero's name is 0, let's write your hero 0 is curly braces 1, and change the special ability to curly braces 2, and at the 0 index position, instead of hero.hero name, this time we're going to have hero.hero number. Perfect. And under this statement, let's do another console.writeLine real quick. And this time we'll be printing out the information for the sidekick. So same deal. Let's initiate a new line and write your hero position 0 sidekick is curly braces 1. The sidekick's special ability is curly braces 2. And let's populate the template string. Same deal, hero.hero number. Alright, so now at the curly braces 1 position, we would like to access the hero name of the particular sidekick object. So we're going to write sidekick list to access the list object that contains all these sidekick objects, and enters a pair of square brackets. And inside of this pair of square brackets, normally we would enter the hero number, right? So hero.hero number. But remember, we had instructed the hero number variable to start at 1. So at here, and in order for the console.writeLine methods for both of the hero and the sidekick objects to be synchronous, we need to do a -1 here so that they're synchronous. And after the pair of square brackets, we're going to chain another command to access the particular hero name. And same deal here, we're going to copy the bulk of this string over here, paste it over here, and chain the hero ability command, the hero ability property to access the sidekick's particular special ability. Alright guys, so at this point the bulk of the program is already finished. Before we're going to test the final product, we're going to do some minor house cleaning. First of all, we need to initiate the sidekick object. So sidekick, new sidekick equals to new sidekick. Alright, and let's also remember to add the add sidekick method right after the add hero method. And now let's test the whole program out. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now let's witness the moment of truth, the moment of revelation. Let's test this program out. And before we start the test, let's do a final housekeeping. Let's do a console.clear so that we can have some more real estate on the screen. Hit the play button. In the main menu, let's type A. Enter the name of your hero. Let's try Green Arrow. Special ability Archery. And his sidekick is going to be Arsenal. Archery again. Let's add another hero. Martian Manhunter. Let's try Shape Shifting. Sidekick Miss Martian. Shape Shifting again. For the sake of presentation, let's add one final hero. Let's try Aquaman. Alright, and special ability is going to be Talking to Fish. Sidekick Aqualad. Special ability is going to be Talking to Fish again. And let's hit P, and we can see that all the information we have just logged in got successfully printed out again. So guys, thanks for watching this tutorial episode. I hope the video has been informative, and I'll see all of you in the next C# tutorial video. Bye bye.